Thank you for tuning in to the Andrew Tate Show, brought to you by GSMC Sports. I am your host, Sarah. I am joined, of course, by Tate. We have a great show for you today. We will be covering Game 1 between the Dallas Mavericks and the Minnesota Timberwolves, the latest on TNT and the NBA, how the NCAA's settlement is affecting smaller conferences, a graduation gone hilariously wrong, and then stick around for segment 5 because we will be talking about not only a ghost divorce, but also a haunted clown adoption. So you'll want to check that out. As always, as we get started, I would like to ask that you like and subscribe to the show. That really does help us out. Also, we do get a number of questions from viewers during our time here on the show. And if you would like to ensure that your question or comment gets read on air, I ask that you use the tips and donation link at GSMCPodcast.net. That puts your question at the top of our list so that we see it, and it really does help the show. Again, the link is GSMCPodcast.net. Good morning, Tate. How are you?
Hello, Miss Sarah. All right, so today's been one of those days where we're getting off to a late start. We had some technical difficulties. You know, Sarah's getting adjusted to her new role a little bit. So
this has been a week of Monday for me personally. It's not been a bad week. It's just been a week that like every day is a new Monday.
Yes, and so we've been running into some technical difficulties again today. So just a smidget late. We will get that together back on time. But right now, we're working through some issues. Anyway, I'm looking forward to we got an exciting show. How are you doing? I know the adjusting to the systems are a little different.
I'm hanging in there. I was having a really good morning. I went for a walk this morning. It was a beautiful sunny day. Got in my walk, and then just like everything I'm doing, it's not wrong. It's just, I don't know, little things are not going quite the way they should be going, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
No, you got this covered. You got it covered. No problem.
Well, I appreciate your vote of confidence. So shall we go ahead and start with our first segment?
Yes, I'm just getting my chair situated. Let's do this.
Let me go here, and I will make sure I've got the correct thing happening. So in a thrilling Western Conference Finals opener, the Dallas Mavericks showcased their resilience and star power, led by Dončić.
Luka, all right.
Give me a second. And Kyrie Irving to secure a hard-fought 108-105 victory over the Minnesota Timberwolves. Despite facing a raucous home crowd, the Mavericks turned the tables on the Timberwolves with a remarkable comeback in the fourth quarter, fueled by Dončić's heroics and Irving's scoring prowess. The game highlighted the big game experience of both Dončić and Irving, with Dončić delivering a game-high 33 points, including 15 crucial points in the fourth quarter, while Irving contributed 30 points, particularly shining in the first half to keep the Mavericks competitive. Their combined efforts proved instrumental in securing the Mavericks' first Game 1 victory under Coach Jason Kidd's tenure. While the Timberwolves showcased their offensive firepower, led by Jaden McDaniels' impressive performance with 24 points, they struggled to contain the Mavericks' dynamic duo down the stretch. Despite Karl Anthony Towns' efforts, who had an off night shooting 6 of 20 from the field, and Anthony Edwards' contributions, the Timberwolves couldn't withstand the Mavericks' late surge. The game also highlighted the defensive intensity on both sides, with Dončić's defensive play and Mavericks' overall defensive efforts limiting key Timberwolves players. Additionally, the significance of these individual matchups, such as Dončić facing the Timberwolves defense and Irving matching up against Edwards. Looking forward, the Mavericks aim to maintain their momentum and capitalize on their Game 1 victory, while the Timberwolves seek adjustments to bounce back in Game 2. With the series off to an electrifying start, fans eagerly anticipate the next chapter of this Western Conference Finals matchup. So, Tate, what do you think of last night's game?
Okay, this was a good game, first off. I feel like this is going to be like a really tough 7-game series. I was a little surprised that Dallas went into Minnesota and took Game 1. And I don't, it's one of those things where you're trying to figure out, like, is that recency bias because I just watched Minnesota take care of Denver, who I thought was going to win it all? Or was it just, was it just that Dallas was just a better team? I don't know what it was, but I was definitely surprised. And one of the things when I look at Dallas, this is not your normal Dallas team, and it's there's a lot of things about Dallas that I think when I think of Dallas, I'm like offense, no defense. High offense. Luka is going to be strong offensively. Kyrie strong offensively, but a poor defensive team, and that is not the case. The last 2 months of the season and the playoffs, Dallas has been arguably one of the best defenses in the NBA. The last 2 months of the regular season, they were number one. And the defense was the key to this game here. Dallas had some really strong defense, really affected Karl Anthony Towns. It also affected a little bit of Rudy Gobert as well. But there's a bunch of little key moments here. One of the things is when I've watched Dallas throughout the year, they always seemed a little disjointed. It's either Luka's having a big game and Kyrie's not, or Kyrie's having a big game and Luka's not. And I've yet to see them put it together as a team. And so that's one of the reasons why I didn't really give Dallas much of a chance coming into the playoffs of winning this whole thing. But going down the stretch and into the playoffs, Dallas is totally becoming a different team. They're massively improved on defense. And then Kyrie's contributions have gotten bigger and bigger. And in this game, wow, you look at Kyrie from previous years and you're thinking like locker room problem, chemistry problem. Kyrie's been a model citizen in Dallas, everyone. Make sure you understand it. Last year and this year, Kyrie has been a model citizen. And then coming into this game, Kyrie took it upon himself. Ant-Man came out and said, "I'm taking Kyrie." And I feel it motivated him. It's not that I feel that way. Kyrie said it motivated him. And also the fact that his team had never made it that far, and the Mavericks hadn't made it this far as a Western Conference final. And so Kyrie took it upon himself to kind of set the pace, and he came out hard in the first quarter. I mean, he really kicked it in, being kind of that initial high energy pace when Luka was a little flat starting out. Kyrie was at a high revving motor. Kyrie ended up with 30 points on the night. And he had 24 of that 30 points in the first half, and that was critical. Kyrie jumped on them, and then it was kind of like it was a relay race. From there, in the second half, he turned it over to Luka, and then Luka kind of took the baton and carried it on all the way through. This is going to be an interesting series. I wasn't expecting Dallas to take a game in Minnesota. Minnesota is going to have to kind of figure out kind of what to do about if Kyrie's on fire, Luka's on fire, because it seemed to me their experience kind of had a factor. Minnesota was kind of feeling their way through early, and Kyrie just really jumped on them. Having a guy like Kyrie who has done this, who's been to a finals before, who's nailed a big shot before, and then looking at these two teams and saying, our two best guys are better than your two guys. Kyrie and Luka kind of showed that tonight. The question is, does Rudy Gobert, Anthony Edwards, do they circle the wagon and kind of put things back together at game 2? I'm expecting, when I kind of look around and I start thinking about what's going to happen, I think it'll be a very different game in game 2. But to steal game 1 in Minnesota is a big deal. If they can walk out of here, if they can walk out, going into Minnesota, going back into Dallas 1-1, I think everyone from general manager all the way through with the Mavericks would have been like, that's all we wanted. Now they already have that in their pocket. Can they steal game 2? They steal the first 2 games in Minnesota. I think this could be a short series. Right now, I still have it being a 7-game series, but game 2 for Minnesota is critical. They need to step up and prove that and show that, hey, we're young, but we can handle the moment, because I felt like the moment got the best of Minnesota, which it didn't against Denver. But now, after beating Denver, and a lot of places are having them as kind of the favorites to win it all now, that's a whole different, there's a difference between being the hunter and now being the hunted. And so when I look at it, I now look at it as there was a lot of pressure on Minnesota. It kind of cost them in game 1. Can they get it together for game 2?
What do you think the likelihood of maintaining this momentum for Dallas is? You said you were a bit surprised by various things. Do you think they have a good shot of maintaining this?
Well, in a way, yes, I do. Because one of the things, having a guy like Kyrie on the court, Kyrie, he's been here before. As I said, he's used to the media scrutiny. He's used to the media pressure. He's used to playing in Eastern Conference Finals. He's used to playing with being the second to a megastar, playing when he played with LeBron, and now it's Luka's team and he's the number 2, but he can be the number 1 when needed. Kyrie is kind of the key to, in my opinion, to the Mavericks being able to win this series and then going on to the finals. Game 2, I think, is critical for Minnesota. Minnesota cannot go down 0-2. If Minnesota loses game 2, I don't give them much of a chance of winning this series. So with that being said, the pressure, when you talk about Kyrie and Luka and the pressure, Kyrie being able to handle the pressure is squarely on a very young Minnesota team to say, you slipped up in game 1. Can you overcome game 2? Because there's going to be a lot of questions. There's going to be a lot of interviews. Does that get into their head, or do they settle back down and take care of business as far as defensively go? But I really did like the way Kyrie started out the first half just on fire. Like I said, firing off, getting 24 of his 30 points. 30 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. And then the second half, Luka coming in, and he finished the night with 33.6 rebounds and 8 assists and 3 steals. That's showing like a complete game. Very curious to see what happens game 2.
It will definitely be interesting to see how this moves forward as we go into game 2. So game 2, segment 2, we're going to go ahead and take our first break of this episode. When we come back, we'll be switching gears, turning to the NBA and that relationship with TNT, what that is looking like, what those implications might be. So stay tuned. You are watching the Andrew Tate Show by GSMC Sports, and we will be right back.